Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Bhakti Center's Srimad Bhagavatam class, daily class. Today we have the special honor of hearing from Amarendra Prabhu, who, as we have heard several times on this channel, is one of our favorite speakers here. Thank you for taking out the time to come and speak with us. Amarendra Prabhu, from a very young age, has been giving Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita classes, and is in demand all over the world, really, to come and speak. And he gets partnered with, several leading exalted devotees of the movement, sannyasis and other senior devotees. And that's because he's an extremely learned soul, presents really dynamically, and has genuine taste for Krishna Katha. And he has a lot of material qualifications, but that is not why we have come together to hear from him today. And his biggest spiritual qualification, as I've known for several years, is his humility. Despite all his knowledge, he's genuinely always seeking to learn, seeking to improve, and just wants to serve the Vaishnavas. So with that, I would like to hand over to Amarendra Prabhu and take us through the journey of Srimad Bhagavatam today. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashodhalal Prabhu. I feel, again, as I always say, I feel very honored and privileged to be here. I don't see myself qualified. I don't know if I will be making sense and adding some value, but the most beautiful thing about Krishna Katha is that it always does good to ourselves. Even if we are not able to put the point across successfully, it always brings in spiritual benefit for the self. So I come here seeking all your blessings and best wishes and prayers, with the desire that may the right words come at the right time, in the right spirit of service. And if it gives pleasure to your heart, I know you will pray for me. And if it doesn't give pleasure to your heart, I know you will pray so that I improve and I better. Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauruvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll quickly share the screen. Yes, here we are. This is we are going to read many verses today, but we'll just keep it to the English so that it's a free-flowing discussion. Today also happens to be Ram Vijayotsava, Dasera. It marks the day when Sri Ramachandra won over Ravana. So it's the day where the saintly, auspicious qualities win over the wicked, negative vices in the heart. So it's a very wonderful day to pray. We'll come to that in a bit. We'll read these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we'll have some discussion. So we're going to read from text 6 to 16 today. So let's continue. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18, text 6 to 16. I hope everyone's able to see the screen share. I hope, okay. Text 6 onwards. Just the translation. Shukadev Goswami said, one day, Vrishaparva's daughter, Sharmishtha, who was innocent but angry by nature. Interesting. We've seen people who are innocent but angry by nature. Srimad Bhagavatam picks on these subtle aspects of one's personality. And it's interesting that last time I had the good fortune of being with all of you here, we were speaking about anger and we were speaking about harsh speech. So that's exactly where we continue from. So one day Vrishaparva's daughter Sharmishta, who was innocent but angry by nature, was walking with Devayani, the daughter of Shukracharya, and with thousands of friends in a palace garden. The garden was full of lotuses and trees of flowers and fruits, and was inhabited by sweetly singing birds and bumblebees. When the young lotus-eyed girls came to the bank of the reservoir of water, they wanted to enjoy by bathing. Thus they left their clothing on the bank and began sporting, throwing water on one another. While sporting in the water, the girls suddenly saw Lord Shiva passing by, seated on the back of his bull with his wife Parvati. Ashamed because they were naked, the girls quickly got off the water and covered themselves with their garments. Sharmishta unknowingly put Devayani's dress on her own body, but thus angering Devayani, who then spoke as follows. Oh, just see the activities of the servant-like Sharmishta, servant-maid Sharmishta. Disregarding all etiquette, she has put on my dress, just like a dog snatching clarified butter meant for use in a sacrifice. We'll come to all this. We are among the qualified Brahmanas who are accepted as the face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahmanas have created the entire universe by their austerity, and they always keep the absolute truth within the core of their hearts. They have directed the path of good fortune, the path of Vedic civilization, and because they are the only worshipable objects within the world, they are offered prayers and worshipped even by the great demigods, the directors of the various planets, and even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, the Supreme Purifier, the husband of the Goddess of Fortune. And we are even more respectable because we are in the dynasty of Bhrigu. Yet, although this woman's father, being among the demons, is our disciple, she has put on my dress, exactly like a Shudra taking charge of Vedic knowledge. Shukadev Goswami said, when thus rebuked in cruel words, Sharmishta was very angry. Breathing heavily like a serpent and biting her lower lip with her teeth, she spoke to the daughter of Shukracharya as follows. You beggar. Hare Krishna. This is text 16. This has a purport. So we'll read the verse, the translation, and the purport. Atmavritam avidnyaya kathase bahubhikshuki kimna pratikshase smakam grihan balibhujo yatha. Translation and purport. You beggar, since you don't understand your position, why should you unnecessarily talk so much? Don't all of you wait at our house, depending on us for your livelihood like crows? Purport. Crows have no independent life. They fully depend on the remnants of foodstuffs thrown by householders into the garbage tank. Therefore, because a Brahmana depends on his disciples, when Sharmishta was heavily rebuked by Devayani, she charged Devayani with belonging to a family of crow-like beggars. It is the nature of women to fight verbally at even a slight provocation. As we see from this incident, this has been their nature for a long, long time. The point to be noted is, we are not against men or women here. This is the first point to understand. Because the Shastra has always been addressed towards men, sometimes you see that there are some statements about women, right? Keep away from the association of women. It's like the heart of a man is like a butter pot, and the heart of a woman is like a fire, is like fire flame, and when they come together, the butter must melt, things like that. So this has nothing to do, this is not against the heart of a woman. If Shastra was spoken to women, they would say the heart of a woman is like a butter pot and the heart of a man is like fire. It just shows the let's say the downslope of over interaction and intermingling between the opposite sex. That's the purpose. So many points have been mentioned in this section, so I want to take it one after another. So basically, the story has been discussed for some time in this canto, and it will continue for some time. So I don't want to steal the thunder from other speakers, but let's see some practical lessons here. The description goes between two beautiful girls. One is Vrishaparva's daughter Sharmishta, and the other is Devayani's Devayani, who is the daughter of Shukracharya. And they are moving around in the celestial planet, because we see Lord Shiva pass. So it's not Mother Earth. It's happening in the heaven. Shukracharya is Daitya Guru. He's the spiritual master of the demons, the outer cosmic creation. And they are traveling through beautiful, wonderful, descriptive places. We see in the Bhagavatam, a lot of stress has been emphasized, a lot of stress has been laid on describing the beauty of a place with respect to the flowers found there, the fruits found there, the quality of water, and the air quality index. This has been stressed. Itam Sharad Swachha Jalam Padmakara Sugandhina. Even when Vrindavan has been described in the 21st chapter of the 10th canto, Shukadev Goswami lays a lot of stress on the water quality in Vrindavan, the air quality in Vrindavan, the flowers in Vrindavan. Even when he describes Vaikuntha in the 3rd canto, he describes about what kind of birds are found, what kind of insects are found, and what is their innate nature. They're so non-envious that even when a bumblebee tries to sing something in his own bumblebee-like voice, all those sweet singing birds, they keep quiet. They almost reduce their volume to nil, because they want to hear the sweet descriptions of the Lord coming from the lips of a bumblebee. Not typically, not literally lips, but whatever, the descriptions coming from a bumblebee. So we see in the Bhagavatam and in other places are described on the basis of the flowers, the fruits, and the inhabitants, the quality of inhabitants that's found. Nowadays, it's really sad that even Vrindavan, which is the eternal abode of Radha and Krishna, has become a forest of skyscrapers and a forest of, it's almost becoming like the next Delhi, filled with metropolitan presence. So the pristine, serene environment of Vrindavan is being lost. And of course, we are to be blamed for that, because we see that the way Vrindavan was being treated by our predecessor acharyas for more than 500 years, from the time Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered Radhakund, till the point of, let's say, 1950, 1960s, Vrindavan was pristine and beautiful. Even now, spiritually, Vrindavan is pristine and beautiful and very serene and very calm early in the morning. But then you see a lot of traffic and a lot of human intervention into the waters of the Yamuna, industrial pollution, a lot of communication towers for cell phone towers, let's say. So our acharyas, they respected reverentially the land of Vrindavan, coming from the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, up to the point of 1950s, 1960s. Vrindavan was very beautiful, even materially. But then in the last 50 years, we have been successful in a negative sense in destroying everything that we had. Cutting down the trees, building the big houses, building the big buildings, the big structures. So much so that in Barsana, there is a very great saint living in the holy land of Srimati Radharani for more than 60 years now. And he's always glorified for many things, many contributions, but one great contribution from his side has been in protecting the trees of Barsana, especially a place called Gehavarwan. He's been living there for about 60, 70 years now. And when he was new to the place and he decided to live there, the local mafia, as we know, it's always there. It's always, this material world is a dangerous place. So the local mafia, they decided to cut the trees at Gehavarwan, at Barsana. And they came with their axe, they came with their tools. And this great sadhu with all his disciples, they hugged the trees of Vrindavan. And they told this mafia that if you want to destroy these trees, first you have to kill all of us. For every human that you kill, you'll get a tree free. And they thought this was too far out. You couldn't think of killing human beings and beheading them just to get a tree. So they let it go. And till this very day, all those trees are intact at Gevarwan. It's one of the most beautiful places in Barsana. Of course, I'm reiterating and recapitulating this point that Vrindavan Dham by nature is very beautiful spiritually, but we also have a chance to keep Vrindavan Dham even materially beautiful, making it more comfortable for the visitors, making it more welcoming for every tourist who comes in, because it's a historical place. It's a place of the Supreme Lord's appearance and the pastime place of Radha and Krishna. So not throwing in the water, the pollution in the water, not making it as a forest of structure and cement and stone and just cars gushing in from Delhi and from Agra and all of these places to Vrindavan, making it so crowded. So my point is, Srimad Bhagavatam always teaches us so many beautiful things. One time His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was mentioning that every living being, this was at the Govardhan Eco Village with Go Green campaign. It's a wonderful environmental friendly atmosphere. I hope and I wish for those who haven't been there, may you make a trip to India. It's in Mumbai. It's about 3 hours away from the city of Mumbai. It's very beautiful. It's an eco village that His Holiness has created. So Maharaj was mentioning that every living entity likes to have an inner atmosphere, an inner environment which is ego-free, which is without ego. And at the same time, that same person also likes to be in an external environment which is eco-friendly. That which is ego-friendly inside and that which is eco-friendly outside. So he likes to be in an eco-friendly environment outside, which is, more environmental friendly. And he likes to live in a place in his consciousness, in his heart, which is free from ego. So there was a play of word with EGO and ECO. So I really like that. So that's something that we can take home from this verse. Let's move on. All the wonderful friends, they see the bank of water and they desire to enjoy by bathing there. It's interesting. When you see a place, depending on the consciousness, the desire manifests. It's very, very interesting. Now, these girls, when they see the water pond, naturally they desire to jump in and bathe. And it's just natural, right? When we see a swimming pool, when we see a reservoir of water, we see a pond, a lake, the natural instinct is jump, enjoy. It's beautiful. But not quite for the liberated souls who are spiritually advanced. They're always thinking about others. They're always thinking about the Supreme Lord. I'll give you an example. When someone in the mode of goodness, as we know, there are 3 modes: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And of course, there's one mode which is beyond these 3 modes. We'll come to that in a bit. It's called pure goodness. It's actually 4 modes. So the mode of goodness is such that, let's say someone with a mode of goodness sees a forest. What's the first inclination, the first proclivity, the first thought that comes in their heart when they see a forest, someone in the mode of goodness? The thought that comes to their heart is, so beautiful, so nice. Look at the beautiful trees. Look at the trees filled with fruits and flowers. I wish I have a place like this where I can sit far, far away from all the hustle and bustle of the passionate city life. And I can sit here on the banks of a holy river under the shade of this tree in complete serene connection with Mother Nature, in isolation, and let me meditate. Let me think about the Supreme Lord. That's what someone in the mode of goodness will think. Now, what's the natural thought of someone in the mode of passion when they see a forest? What? So much land is being wasted here. Let me just cut these trees, build these big, big buildings and skyscrapers, and put it on sale. I'm going to make tons and millions of dollars. And that's how so many forests have been cleared in the present generation, just to make human inhabitation. It's to make it more favorable for human habitat. And then when we see, so it's really sad. The forests, which are the natural dwelling place for the animals, have been cleared for human residence. And then when the animals are found in the backyard, or let's say they're found around human place, then they're shut down. Isn't that so cruel that the wild animals actually have to live in the forest? And we clear the forest to make human residence. And then when they try to struggle to find their own residence, we shoot them down. So someone in the mode of passion is thinking of clearing the forests and making it more practically available for human residence, and then building skyscrapers and houses and putting it on sale, bringing in more humans and making tons and tons of millions of dollars. That's what someone in the mode of passion thinks when he sees a forest. Someone in the mode of ignorance, when he sees a forest, what's the natural inclination in his heart? Oh, it's too much work to walk through this forest. Let me just sleep at home. Too much happening. I don't want to be here. It's too much walking. Hey, would you want to come on a hike? Do you want to, let's go for trekking. Oh, it's too boring. I can't walk so much. Someone in the mode of ignorance. When they look at a forest, they think their bed is way more joy producing. It's way more happy a place than walking through the forest. So someone in the mode of ignorance doesn't want to be there. He likes dark, isolated places where he can doze off to sleep and relax and sluggishly procrastinate. But someone in the mode of fashion is very passionate about clearing everything and making it conducive for making into a good business so that he can make more money. And someone in the mode of goodness thinks, wow, it's a good place to meditate, right? And someone in the mode of pure goodness, every single thing that he sees in the forest only reminds him of Vrindavan. Everything he sees in the forest only reminds. So in the mode of goodness, it's not so much Vrindavan. It's about, yes, it's a nice, sweet, sacred space where I can sit and meditate. But someone in the mode of pure goodness is thinking, oh, this is so beautiful. This tree reminds me of the tree in Vrindavan. This deer here reminds me of the deer in Vrindavan who is to get hypnotized hearing the flute sound of Krishna. This river reminds me of the Yamuna. This little mountain peak, this little hill here, up here, it reminds me of the rocks of Govardhan. This forest reminds me of, let's say, the forest of Madhuvan, where Dhruva Maharaj meditated, or there are so many beautiful pastimes connected to the forest of Vrindavan. These sweet-sounding birds, they remind me of the forest, the description of the birds in the pages of the Bhagavatam, who are constantly singing the glories of Radha and Krishna. So the point made here is, depending on our consciousness, every single thing that we see will be colored by the color of our consciousness. The desire that manifests by seeing something is actually a projection of our inner self. Projection of our inner self. The Shastra describes a very beautiful verse in this regard. Eka eka padartheshu tridha bhavati vikshitai kunapa kamini mamsam yogi kami bhishvabhi. The description given is, when a beautiful girl walks down the road or walks, in public, there could be three possible vision that we could have on the basis of the consciousness. The vision of a yogi, the vision of a lusty man, and the vision of a hungry lion, right? These are the three visions that you can see. Something in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. The yogi is in the mode of goodness. The lusty man is in the mode of passion. And let's say a hyena or a jackal or a fox is in the mode of ignorance. So how does a yogi see a woman walk down the road? He sees her as a part and parcel of God, who's living in the body made of flesh and bones. That's the true reality. It's life, sacred life living in a material body. That's how a yogi sees. But how does a lusty man see? He sees it as an opportunity to enjoy his senses. And how does a ignorant hyena look at a woman, or a man for that matter? He looks as a bag of bones, something that he can chew into. So everyone looks at things in this world on the basis of how developed or how underdeveloped their consciousness is. So why are we speaking about all this? Because when the young lotus-eyed girls came to the bank of the reservoir of water, they wanted to enjoy by bathing. So it doesn't say that they really had to bathe. It says they wanted to enjoy. So they were seeing the water pond as an opportunity to enjoy. To contrast this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see when he would walk through water ponds and pile of rocks, and he would walk through forests, he would always say, this is Vrindavan. He would look at the forest and he would say, this is Vrindavan. He would look at the water and he would say, this is Yamuna. When he would look at the rocks, he would say, this is Govardhan. So we want to develop that mood. Even if we live in New York City, even if we live in India, even if we live in America, in Australia, in the Europe, wherever we are, Krishna daily gives us opportunities to remember him. Can look outside the window and see maybe a small plant and remember Tulsi, right? It may not be Tulsi, but through your consciousness, through your eyes, you saw it as Tulsi. So it's wonderful. So they left their clothes on the banks and began to sport by throwing water at one another. And while sporting in the water, the girls suddenly saw Lord Shiva pass, seated on the back of his bull with his wife Parvati. Now, is that wrong for Lord Shiva to come there? Well, the place belongs to him. So he's just moving around in his own place. And that too, he isn't going alone. He's having his wife. So it's just justified for him to move. Very interesting point here that Lord Shiva represents good fortune. And good fortune can come at any time. We can see the life of the two sons of Kubera in the 10th canto. They were also in the water. They were bathing with the celestial women in the water in the 10th canto. For those who don't know the story in 10 seconds, there's this very great rich king in the celestial planets by the name Kubera. And his two sons, Manigriva and Nalakuvera, are so proud of their position that they are sons of the richest multi-trillionaire among the demigods. They are beautiful, they are intelligent, they have aristocratic birth, they are rich, they have all the opulences, they all have all the beautiful girls around. So they are just in the prime of their youth, enjoying in the water. And that's when Narada Muni, believe it or not, a sannyasi, a sadhu, comes there. And his heart is bleeding looking at the position of the sons of Kubera, that they are misusing their position, they are proud of their position, and they feel life is all about enjoying in this way. So at this situation, when Narada comes there, all the girls there in the water, they feel embarrassed and they put on their clothes. But these two sons, proud sons of Kubera, they start grumbling about this fact that why is this sadhu here? Doesn't he know that we are busy in the water? He should just avoid the place. What does he think of himself? And they get angry. And the great sage Narada, he feels compassionate for them and curses them. Now we could think, how can a sadhu curse? How can a saint curse? But we should understand that pure Vaishnavas, because they're saintly and because they're selfless and because they're always compassionate, even in their curse lies the greatest good fortune, the greatest blessing. It's almost like a doctor. The doctor may give a flu shot. It could be an injection. And the injection may prick for, let's say, a second or two. But ultimately, it does more good to us, to our body, than the pain that that pricks the body. So the curse may probably be a temporary prick of a needle. But the good fortune that comes through that curse is like the protection that the body gets through an injection injected by the doctor. So then he curses the two sons of Kubera. And what's the curse? May you two become the trees in Vrindavan, in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, and may you glance and may you watch and witness all the beautiful, wonderful pastimes of baby Krishna. Now think about it. Is it a curse? Is it a blessing? Well, it's supreme blessing. It's supreme blessing. I remember sometimes in our childhood, we used to play this prank. We used to get these very beautiful, tasty, juicy mangoes in the summer season in India. And we wanted to protect it from our cousins who were visiting. So we would have cousins come over during the summer break. And everyone loved mangoes. And this is when we were like in our 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. So we wanted to share the mangoes with them, but at the same time, we loved it ourselves. So we were having this anxiety of losing the mangoes to them. So what we would do, and of course, later on we were caught, but this did work for some time. What we would do is we would put 10 mangoes out for them and the remaining 90 mangoes in a box. And outside the box, we would write oranges or we would write grapes. So they would actually believe that it's a box of grapes and never touch it. And then we would devour that box filled with mangoes, because they didn't know it was filled with mangoes. We knew it. So they just read the grapes on the external. They never read. So they didn't like grapes and they didn't like mangoes. They didn't like oranges. So we would just write oranges and we would just write grapes. And they would think, oh, this is grapes. Where are the mangoes? So externally it looked like a box of grapes, but when you open the box, you realize it's actually a box of mangoes. So curse coming from great souls is like that, especially from someone like Narada Muni. Externally, it seems like a box of oranges or grapes that you don't like, which means a curse is almost unacceptable. But when you see the essence of the curse, it's actually a box of mangoes. There's supreme blessing there, supreme blessing. So he gave Manigriva and Nalakuvera the chance to stand in Vrindavan and witness all the pastimes. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati in the Vrindavan, in his book called Vrindavan Mahimamrita, he describes that the trees of Vrindavan have the supreme good fortune of taking birth in Vrindavan, living all their life in Vrindavan, and successfully even giving up their life and dying in Vrindavan, which living beings plan for. We can buy houses in Vrindavan, think that I was not born in Vrindavan, I couldn't live my life in Vrindavan, let me at least die in Vrindavan, right? But the trees have the good fortune of taking birth in Vrindavan, living in Vrindavan, dying in Vrindavan, and they have so much dham nishtha, which means they have so much attachment to the dham, to the abode of Vrindavan, that they don't move an inch from where they are. They tolerate the heat, the cold, the rain, and even if someone cuts them down, they prefer to die in the dust of Vrindavan. We come from the dust of Vrindavan and we go back to the dust of Vrindavan. That's the glories of the trees. And also, if you see, Krishna says 4 things in the Bhagavad Gita, that you can offer me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, and some water. And if you see, the trees of Vrindavan offer all 4 to Krishna. One body. In one body, they offer all 4. They offer the fruits, they offer the flowers, they offer the leaves, and they offer the water of their tears and separation from Krishna, which no other tree outside Vrindavan offers. Or no human being can offer from his own body. He can't offer the flowers and the fruit. He can offer the tears, but he can't offer the flowers and the fruits coming from his body. So the trees are like that. They are very, very sacred. So the point is, we were mentioning how Lord Shiva is coming here, unplanned, into the scene, just like Narada came unplanned when Manigriva and Nalakuver were bathing, and only did good fortune, only gave them blessings and uplifted them to make them into trees. And then Krishna hid behind them while playing with his friends and uplifted them during the Damodar Leela. So we could ask the question, the 2 sons of Kuber, Manigriva and Nalakuber, how many lives would they have taken transmigrating and reincarnating from their state to go back to Krishna Loka, to go back to the spiritual or entrance into the pastimes of Krishna? It would have taken many, many lives for them, because they were in a state of bathing with celestial girls, being completely intoxicated by their pride. It would have taken them at least, let's say, another 100 births, I don't know, to slowly evolve in their consciousness. But Narada Muni, he could speed up the whole process. So externally it seems like a curse, but it was actually the supreme well-wishing blessing that he could uplift them from that state and in one life give them entrance. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj explains that Manigriva and Nalakuver, when they were cursed to be trees, celestial girls would walk past them and they would not even look at them, because they knew that last time we looked at them and then we lost all good fortune because of the desire to enjoy. But by this curse, they became trees that they would protect, almost like blinders that's there in the eye of a male horse, so that he doesn't get attracted to a female horse and go astray from his path. So in that way, the trees were well protected and they were uplifted. So back to the story where a sadhu is coming to the scene when someone's bathing. Ashamed because they were naked, the girls quickly got up water, covered themselves with their garments. This is good. Sharmishta unknowingly put Devayani's dress on her own body, thus angering Devayani, who spoke as follows. And we see a lot of harsh speech there. So Bhagavatam is making a very strong point here, and this is something that we all can introspect and something that we all can take home, or a point that we all can consider from this discussion. Sharmishta unknowingly, it's not knowingly, but unknowingly puts on Devayani's dress. on her body. And this angers Devayani. So what's the central theme? What is the underlying emotion? When someone takes something that belongs to us, now if it is knowingly, it could be a theft. It could be considered as stealing, or it could be considered as getting into somebody's space, right? Unnecessarily taking something that doesn't belong to you. But the word clearly says unknowingly. She didn't know about it. Just in the spur of the moment, with the desire to cover herself quickly, she took the cloth on the floor and she put it onto her body without seeing that it wasn't her garment. She covered herself with Devayani's dress. And what happens? This angers Devayani. So this is in connection again with what we were discussing last time. What is our tipping point? What is our tipping point as far as anger is concerned? How tolerant can we be? What is our tipping point? How sensitive are we? Or let's say how quickly can we be provoked? How quickly can we be irritated? How quickly can we be agitated? We want to know our tipping point. How quickly, how high or how low is our tipping point? Our tipping point should be very high, which means even if the person knowingly does something, we should be in a position to smile and forgive, understanding that ultimately this doesn't belong to me either. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincham jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita ma krida kasya svidhanam. The Ishopanishad has described that everything in this world belongs to Krishna. So whether I being a part and parcel of Krishna, use one of his properties, or you being the part and parcel of Krishna, use some of his resource and property, it doesn't matter to me. You can keep it, you can have it. I remember when I came to New Jersey, and I feel the need to say this here. When I came to New Jersey last time, it was so cold. It was in the middle of the winter, and somehow I had forgotten my winter jacket. I was with Yashoda Dulal Prabhu, and Yashoda Dulal Prabhu was very kind to give his winter jacket to me. And I still have it. And next time I go to New Jersey, I hope I go with a jacket of my own. So the point I'm trying to make here is the desire to offer help to others when they need it comes in the heart of a Vaishnava, comes in the heart of a saintly devotional person. And how does it matter? It doesn't matter. If someone wants to take my book, someone wants to take maybe a pen, you can take it, you can have it. Someone wants to take my clothes, my kurta, you can have it. It doesn't put me to poverty, it doesn't put me to shame. It's not that Devayani did not have clothes. Sharmishta took her clothes. She could have just taken Sharmishta's clothes for now and just laughed about it. It's fine. Once Lord Shiva passes, we can change it back again. It was a small thing. But it ended up tipping Devayani with anger and with harsh speech. So it's almost like thinking, let's say I have a wound here. I have a boil. I have a bad wound. Anyone who touches with your finger, what's going to happen? It's going to hurt me. But if you try to touch here, or you try to touch here, it's not going to hurt me. Even if you try to push your finger deep, it's not going to hurt me. But here, where the wound is, if you try to even slightly touch, it hurts. What's the point? The point is, the problem is not with the finger. The problem is with the wound. So when we get agitated, it's not so much about the finger which is agitating us from the external. It's not. So Sharmishta unknowingly taking Devayani's dress is the finger touch from the outside. But Devayani's inner wound in her consciousness of possessiveness of her clothing or possessiveness of her position, that's the inner wound. It's not so much about taking the dress. It's the wound. So when someone touches, the problem is with the wound and not with the finger. Because if it was with the finger, irrespective of wherever we touch, it should hurt. But the hurt is here. And this is why it hurts here. So when someone says something or does something, many times we spend days, weeks, months, and even years holding that grudge against them. Right? It could be a property issue. It could be a fight between siblings. It could be marital problems. Or for years we continue with going back and forth with it. So, but we have to understand it's not so much about the finger which is agitating. It's about the inner wound that is causing the tipping point to be so low that with every slight agitation, I get agitated. So it's not so much about the finger. It's not so much about the circumstance. It's not so much about the medium of that agitation. It's the insecurity in my heart. And in the Shastra, we see time and again, when someone is very possessive of their things, it's not considered to be very saintly. I'll give you two examples which may make this concept clear for all of us. We find in the Bhagavad Gita, in the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. This has been spoken by Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kauravas, spoken to Sanjaya, his assistant and his close associate. And that's the only verse in the Bhagavad Gita that he speaks. The question that he's asking is, after my sons and the sons of Pandu, after they have assembled on the battlefield, desiring to fight, what did they do? Was there a compromise? Did they win? Did the battle begin and did my sons win? What is the outcome? Because he's blind. He's not at the fight scene. He's not at the battlefield. He's far somewhere outside. He's in his palace, far away from the battle arena. And he is materially blind and also spiritually blind, says Prabhupada. So he was asking Sanjaya, his assistant, who was blessed by Vyasadeva, his guru, of having the ability to see anything that's far distant, to be as close as if he's actually perceiving it. So he was asking him, what's happening? Let me know. And the interesting point that Srila Prabhupada points out in the purport is he could have said, after all the warriors have assembled, what did they do? But he is very clear to say, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, my sons and the sons of Pandu. It's very interesting. Pandu is his own brother. Dhritarashtra's brother is Pandu. So basically Pandu's sons and Dhritarashtra's sons are brothers. So instead of saying, when after all the brothers have assembled to fight, what did they do? He doesn't say like that. Words express consciousness. Words express consciousness. So he says, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assemble, desiring to fight, what did they do? So he's making a clear distinction between what's mine and what's not mine. And Prabhupada writes, this is the quality of someone who's spiritually blind. Because Dhritarashtra was materially blind and also spiritually blind. Which means when we are over-possessive of giving affection only to my spouse, only my child, only my home, only my family, we are drawing boundaries for expressing that affection. But if you see great saints, they have nothing to do with this is only mine and this is not mine. Their consciousness is at a position where they say, I belong to Krishna. Krishna belongs to me. And everyone who belongs to Krishna, every living being, not just human beings, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane, Gavi Hastini, Shuni Chaiva Swapake, Pandita Samadarshina, every bird, every insect, every tree, every reptile, every human, wherever there is life, wherever there is the sacred presence of the soul, belongs to my Krishna. And I belong to Krishna, Krishna belongs to me. So anyone and everyone and anything and everything that belongs to Krishna belongs to me and belongs to everyone. This is a world where the whole world is our home and everyone is our family because they all belong to Krishna. This is such a broad, wide radius, compass. The circle is not small with a small radius of family attachment. It's a big circle with the wide radius of compassion, right? So that's point number one as far as Dhritarashtra is concerned. His compass is or let's say his radius, the circle that he's drawing with the radius of material affection is so small. Another example we find in the Bhagavatam is that of Kaliya. Kaliya takes on Krishna's pond and claims it to be his own and is so possessive about it that when Krishna himself jumps into his own pond, Krishna's pond, Krishna is jumping into his own pond, what problem should Kaliya, the black snake, living in the waters of Yamuna, poisoning the whole water, what problem should he have? But he becomes so possessive of the place. So he takes on Krishna's pond, pollutes the water, and makes it so toxic that even the birds in the area and the trees on the banks, they all get choked to death. And no Brajbasi goes close because the water is poisoned. And the cows which drink that water, they faint. The boys who are thirsty, they drink their water, they die. So Krishna just going into the water. Our acharyas say he jumped into the pond, not to kick Kaliya out. Krishna had no problem with Kaliya. You want to take on my pond, you have it. You won't even pollute it, no problem. Krishna just jumped to swim around. But what was the problem with Kaliya? He took on Krishna's pond and now became so possessive of that pond that he wanted to kick Krishna out of his own pond. So he takes Krishna's pond, pollutes the place, and when Krishna comes to just swim in that water, Kaliya gets agitated. Who is this unidentified foreign object in my space? And he starts hissing around. And that's when Krishna thinks this inner insecurity of possessiveness should be kicked out. So Krishna did not kill Kaliya, but he just asked him to leave. He danced on his head, purified his head, which means purified his thought process, and asked him to leave. So when we have this possessive mentality, it could be possessive mentality over relationships or house or clothes in this case. Sharmishta unknowingly puts on Devayani's clothes, and Devayani gets angry and spits venom through her mouth. She doesn't tolerate. It's one thing to feel angry and agitated, but why did she take on my clothes and not say about it? Well, that's not good, but still better. But then going around spitting venom and poison, saying you have no etiquette, you're like a dog who's snatching clarified butter meant for the use in sacrifice, almost saying that my clothes are like clarified butter and my life is like a sacrifice and you're like a dog. Very harsh, right? Very harsh. What comes out at the time of pressing situations like this is what we practice otherwise. We see it's a very strong point here that children, oftentimes, if they have bad speech, harsh speech in school, it's a red flag for the teachers, because they are speaking what they are hearing at home, what they are listening to at home. So if the parents they spit venom at each other in the form of harsh speech, then children, they grow up with these sound vibrations. So we want to tolerate. We want to tolerate, and if there are things which are reversals in life, someone takes something. Now again, there's everything comes with its own boundaries and lines. So it's not a blanket statement. Let's say someone breaks into our house and starts stealing things. We're not going to think, well, I don't want to be Devayani. You can take it. Everything belongs to Krishna. If that's where the consciousness is, then, well, that's really very advanced. That could be a response, but that's very advanced. But the practical thing to do is, Krishna has given me this place for serving him, and I can't have anyone get into this property, destroy this, steal the money and use it for drugs and other things. This money belongs to Krishna, and I would not let you have it. I will use it for Krishna's service. So the Kshatriya spirit comes out. But here it was unnecessary, because unknowingly she put on Devayani's clothes. So what Devayani should have ideally done is keep it. It was so sweet that you didn't even think about what you're wearing. Good, nice, you have it. You look good in it. This is how we should respond. And we ideally want to respond. When things are unexpected in life, we want to see what kind of speech comes through our mouth. There's a very age-old saying that once upon a time there was a multilingual entertainer in the kingdom of a king. He would speak so many languages, and even the king and the ministers could not understand what his actual mother tongue was. He could speak like 25 languages. And every time somebody spoke in a language, he could respond in that language. And nobody understood what his mother tongue was. So the king, he had a meeting with all his ministers, and he said, any minister who can, with proof, understand and let me know what his actual mother tongue is. What's the actual mother tongue of this entertainer in our courtroom? If someone can let me know that, I will give him a present. I'll give him a gift. I'll give him some reward for it. So many ministers tried, but they all failed. And one interesting minister, he went into the room of this entertainer while he was asleep, and he pinched him hard. So when he pinched him hard, this entertainer, he said something in his mother tongue. he gave an expression or a remark in his mother tongue. And that's when the minister understood. You can plan to speak so many languages while being awake, but while you're pinched in your sleep, your inner mother tongue, your innate language that you've been practicing for a long time is what comes out. And then he went to the king and said, I pinched him while he was asleep, and this is what he said in his mother tongue. So this is his mother tongue. And then the king called the entertainer and said, is this true? And the entertainer said, yeah, that's true. He got me right. So the point is, we could be like an entertainer, speaking different languages, in the sense that when we are with devotees, we can always say, I am your servant, I want to serve you. When everything is going good, we can speak so many languages. But when we are caught unaware in life, in circumstances, through reversals, what's the language that comes through our mouth? That's something to ponder upon. That's something to introspect about. So here, Sharmishta taking on Devayani's clothes is like pinching Devayani in sleep, catching her unaware. And what comes through her mouth is what she has practiced. What she thinks about Sharmishta, what she thinks about herself, her position, and the speech that she has practiced is what comes out. That was the tipping point. So the lesson for us is, even when life tries to catch us unaware, it could be by someone taking our clothes or someone trying to ridicule us. We want to see what kind of language comes to our mouth. We want to see what kind of consciousness we have cultivated. This is the meditation. And today is a wonderful day to introspect and pray for that, because Ravana represented bad speech. Ravana, the word Ravana in Sanskrit means he who could act and speak and think in such a way that it would only cause harm and distress in the lives of others. He could make others cry. That's the typical definition of the word Ravana. And Ram destroyed him. So in the pages of the Ramayana, we see that Ram successfully destroyed Ravana. But what happened to that Ravana? He jumped into our heart. He's still alive. The 10 heads of Ravana are still alive, at least in my heart, in the form of pride, in the form of arrogance, in the form of hypocrisy, deceit, in the form of greed, in the form of lust, in the form of anger, in the form of envy. All these heads of Ravana, which were chopped down by Ram in the pages of the Ramayana, are still alive in my heart. So we want to pray today, O Ram, just like you destroyed Ravana, we beg you, we beseech you, we request you, please enter the Lanka of my heart through your holy names, through your sound vibration, in the form of your katha, in the form of your kirtan. Please enter the Lanka of my heart and destroy the Ravana within. This is the prayer on the day when Sri Ram destroyed Ravana. So I will pause here, and if there are any reflections, questions, additions, corrections, suggestions, improvements, please go for it. It's all yours.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, I really enjoyed this point about, talking about our trigger points, and I was relieved when you said that, if somebody comes to my house and wants to steal it, that, there are boundaries. Because before you said that, I was thinking about, what about Ishopanishad? It talks about everybody having their quota, Right. And so, even though everything does ultimately belong to Krishna, but still he has put certain things in our possession for his use, So I was relieved when you finally, spoke about, yes, we do have boundaries, Right. But one last thing I wanted to say was that, just as, with that, the person who spoke so many languages, but when he was pinched, his true language came out. That reminded me of Putana, actually, because when she was pinched,
Beautiful.
Her true form also came out.
Beautiful. Wow. Beautiful.
I think there's another pastime, another demon too, who was pretending to be a cow, right? I forget what's his name. I forget. And then, yeah. And so he also, when in a pinch, his true self was revealed. Anyway, thank you so much for your beautiful class.
I'm waiting for the day when you will pinch me. So that my inner demon who's been hiding for a long time, like Putana and Vatsasur, will finally come out. And
I don't think I could pinch you hard enough for that.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I just want to say thank you for all your classes, for everything that you do, for investing your whole vessel that's been gifted to you from Krishna. I listen to you every day, and I'm trying to talk because it's hard to talk how much of love I have for you in my heart. But yesterday I was driving to the Kirtan in the city, and I live in Long Island. And in Long Island, people tend to be a little more compassionate towards each other. So even though there's traffic, there's more tolerance, and in the city, there's no no tolerance.
Right.
There's actually probably sometimes even there was like 3 accidents probably that occur as you drive. There's so many accidents.
Right.
And then I remember telling myself, I got triggered, and I was just like, I got angry, and my demons didn't come out, but I remember telling myself, no, this isn't right. Just say the Maha Mantra. Just say the Maha Mantra. Let it take over. And it's interesting because even with my son, I'll do laundry, and he'll want to help me, and sometimes he'll put clothes that's too delicate in the dryer, and this just reminded me of all of this, and I got upset, and I said, honey, you can't do this. This is very sensitive, and then I would always apologize, but it takes a while. And seeing this process, I can't believe that this actually still happens in the heavens. That's shocking to me. But I'm so curious to learn more about the heavens and what happens in the heavens. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your recordings and your classes and everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your heartfelt expression of encouragement and appreciation. I will very happily take it and pass it on to my teachers, to whom I am very grateful, have always been grateful, and I hope and wish and pray that I am always grateful to their lotus feet. Even a portion, an iota of the encouragement that you just offered, if I keep it for myself, I will be a thief, because all of this belongs to them. So thank you for this heartfelt expression. Thank you. Yashodhalal Prabhu, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Amarendra Prabhu. Wonderful class, very instructive as always. Tomorrow we have Achyuta Gopi on this channel, and day after we have Kripamoya Prabhu from Bhaktivedanta Manor. He's a Prabhupada disciple. He's actually a very exalted teacher, and he's the father of 2 of our beloved community members and leaders, Tulsi Harrison and Jahnavi Harrison. So please come every day if you can. And Amarendra Prabhu will be back during Kartik again. So stay tuned. We haven't set a date yet. Amarendra Prabhu is looking surprised, but we will have him back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're part of our Bhakti Center family and our hearts, Amarendra Prabhu, so we cannot let you go.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
I would love to always be. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow.